Welcome everyone. How are you? How are we doing? So welcome back to the IMG Chronicles. This is Dr. Shayee and I am so excited to join you once again. It's been a while, I know. It's been a busy couple of weeks. However, today I will be doing what I would call the phase one of your question and answer sessions. You guys have asked me tons and tons of questions, and instead of emailing each respondent individually, I just thought it would be useful, to share this information with everybody. So in that vein, if this is your first time here, welcome back to IMG Chronicles with Dr. Shayee. I am an IMG myself who went through the residency training here in Canada, and I currently practice in one of the provinces in the prairies. So welcome. If you haven't liked, shared, or subscribed, kindly do so that you can, get notifications of new videos as soon as they come out. People currently undergoing interviews right now for CAMS, I'm wishing you the best of luck, rooting for your success. Share your stories. Let's know where you are when you match so that it can encourage others. So welcome to IMG Chronicles, your favorite Canadian IMG. First question this afternoon is, I am currently overseas and I'm processing the practice ready assessment. I'm over 40 years old. The EE exams, so the EE is the evaluating exams, and that exam has actually been scrapped now. So now you need the MCCQE1 exams. The scores I need to attain look daunting. Am I able to apply for CAMS on arrival in Canada, or is it only the express entry option available for me? So this question is two-faced. One, this person is asking, am I too old to apply for residency? And the answer to that question is no. I was by no means the youngest person when I applied myself. I graduated from residency in my 40s, and I'm in residency here. And I had colleagues who were older than me, right? So I don't think age is the barrier. Remember, your application is looked at in entirety. It's not just one thing that is being checked off the list. It's several things. So it is, what do you bring to the table as an entire package? So I don't think that is a barrier. And the second part to this question is, do I only have CAMS as an option or only express entry? I think for express entry, this person is actually referring to practice ready assessment. Depending on what your total package looks like, you can apply apply for either. If you've had previous work experience, previous postgraduate experience, especially, now note this is applicable to only family medicine. That's what I'm speaking to. So if you've completed previous training in family medicine, then it makes sense to apply to a practice ready assessment, and where you can spend a shorter time and start practicing independently, as opposed to the CAMS, which is a much more rigorous and selective process, right? So I hope I answered that question correctly, like you wanted. And if you still have more, you can send me an email, info@drshayee.com. You've got my contact right there at the bottom. To my second question here, this person is asking about the role of the surgical assistant. when we talked about the alternative career pathways for doctors, I had mentioned the clinical assistant and surgical assistant position, and this person is a breast surgeon from Mexico and is asking, one, is there a growth opportunity in this career path? And then is CAMS retraining something that can happen while you're doing that? So let me make it clear that this pathway is completely separate from CAMS. You are told right from the beginning that AXAP, the AXAP program is independent, is a separate career pathway, and they do not want you to cross into residency. They want you to come in and come and work and, earn a salary from there. Of course, you cannot compare, the salary to that of a physician. It's a physician assistant position, but you definitely would make good quality living. It is not by no means a menial job or a blue collar job. You're practicing as a doctor. It's just that you're working under the supervision of someone's you have a license, but you're working under the supervision of a physician, right? So previously they used to be paid per hour, but that changed. That changed a couple years ago, and now it is a fixed salary. I will be inviting someone here in the near future to come speak on that program entirely. And yeah, I already told you that it's an independent, separate program, and when you get into it, that's the mindset you should come in with. It is not a program where there is an entry into the CAMS program from that pathway. However, there are lots of people who were clinical assistants or surgical assistants who have matched into residency, because it is still Canadian work experience, right? You're working in a Canadian hospital, you're using the Canadian EMR, so it's definitely a plus if you do secure an interview and that comes up as, also, what have you been doing? And you say, I've got this work experience. I remember when I matched a couple of people, of the 10 IMGs who matched into family medicine that year I matched, I think I had about 4 or 5 who were previously clinical assistants in the same province. So I hope that answers your question. Breast surgeon from Mexico. And this person, next question, is asking, do I need to be a citizen or a permanent resident to apply for the Practice Ready assessment program? So the answer to that question is yes, unfortunately. So in Canada, if you're applying for either the Practice Ready assessment or the Canadian Match Residency program, both programs do require that you submit a copy of your maybe anything that shows your stay here. So it could be your driver's license, it could be your Canadian passport, it could be your PR card if you're a PR holder. But yes, it is always part of the requirements. And I think this is because the spaces are so limited. So as much as possible, they try to keep it within people who have the right to live and work here. Now, question number 4 says, can surgeons do Practice Ready assessment program? So as far as currently exists, there is no Practice Ready assessment for surgeons, unfortunately. So the Practice Ready assessment is peculiar to only family medicine. It was created by family medicine for family medicine, and each province has its own requirements and laws and return of service. So this person is a surgeon, originally trained in India and has a master's from the US, and this person has been doing surgical research in the US for the last 5 years. But sadly, no. Whenever you come to Canada, you have to take the Canadian exams and you have to apply for a residency program. Your previous experience in India cannot be transferred here. You have to take the QE1, you have to take the NAC exam, you have to apply, if that's what you want to do. However, I talked about the surgical assistant program earlier. That is where your surgical skills will be a plus if you're applying to that program for sure. Now, I've got this next question. I've got this couple from India, and the wife is currently in her final year of pediatric residency, looking to graduate in June 2022. She graduated from med school in 2017, and they are asking that which pathway is easier. Is it a practice ready or is it residency? Well, that they want the easier pathway to avoid lengthy residency program routes to shorten the path to licensure. So my friend, when you decide to leave your home country and come here, right, it is a daunting step, and unfortunately we start afresh, most of us, except maybe you completed postgraduate training in a country like the US or or the UK. UK specifically family medicine, right? In some provinces or in some rural areas, they could take your internal board, and you could get a job as an internist, However, generally speaking, you have to start all over again. So I have colleagues who completed pediatrics training in their home country, and when they got here, they had to start again. They had to take those exams, they had to apply. Now, for practice ready, you do not qualify because, like I said, practice ready assessment is only for family medicine. Is only family medicine that is doing that, and each college is specific for the country, for the province, and each province is the one who gives you a practicing license. So the first thing first is, whenever you're coming to this country and you've identified what provinces you want to go to, email the regulatory body of that province. So I'm in Alberta and we have the CPSA, right? The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta, so you go to the website and you actually email them, you get a response. And if you do qualify for any sort of alternate pathway, they will tell you what you need to do, right? So, but in terms of which is easier, my friend, unfortunately, that is, there's no such thing as which is easier. They're equally tasking and they have different requirements, right? So at the stage at which your wife will be coming in, graduated 2017, recently completed pediatrics training, she is in a good position to apply for pediatrics retraining. She's got a lot of pluses already, and since you're coming out of a training program right now, then I would expect that you may take a shorter time in preparing for your exams if you still got all your study notes and all. So yeah, there's really no easier pathway. Be ready to put in the work, be ready that it will take time, and at the very minimum, it will take at least 2 years. And 2 years is cutting it close. 2 years means that in 1 year you did all of your exams, you got Canadian observership or elective experience, and the second year you applied for residency. And remember that you submit your application in 1 year and you match the following year. So your third year would actually be the fastest you would get in. I think for me, it took me 5 years, and my goal is it takes you even shorter, which is why I do what I do. So I hope that helped. And we've got a rheumatologist from India who is asking, can she practice via the practice ready assessment route in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I have spoken about the PRA process several times. So right now, the practice ready is for family physicians. That is what is available. The exams you need to do as a rheumatologist, if it's going to be acceptable, I would suggest that you contact the Manitoba, so College of Physicians and Surgeons of Manitoba. Write them an email, ask them directly, and they would let you know, because this process is so individualized. That's the thing about Canada. It's so individualized. There is no central portal for information. So like I said before, many specialists have had to take these exams again and apply for residency. So that would mean getting into internal medicine program and then subspecialize, do a fellowship in rheumatology. That's the process, But like I said, send them an email and they will be in a good position to respond. This question is, how did I study for the QE1 and the NAC exam? And how long did it take? So the question, how long did it take, it depends on your own peculiar situation. So in my own case, I was not a fresh graduate from medical school. I was more than 10 years out of med school when I started, and then I had been working for a long time in a subspecialty, and I had gone to do a master's in public health. So I was very far from basic sciences, right? But I gave myself about a year, and I wanted to do it and do it well. So the first thing I would say is, identify where you are and what responsibilities you have. I had 2 young kids, so there's going to be a time to be a parent, there's going to be a time to study. And if you're supporting your family financially as well, then you also have to factor in working. So all of this make your study time longer, right? And what did I study with? I did my exams a while ago. How many years precisely now? I think this is 2022. I did my exams in 2015 was when I did my QE1. Yeah, my first QE1 was in 2015, which I didn't pass, But the first thing I would say is visit the MCC QE1 website. Look at the current objectives, look for the objectives, look at the current objectives. You have the list of topics you're expected to know. So the QE1 is an exam that what you're expected to know for that exam is they're comparing you to the level of a graduating Canadian medical student. So that is the level, and it's a clinical exam, right? In 2 parts, testing MCQ as well as clinical decision making questions, so it's in 2 parts. You're going to have about 210 MCQ questions in 4 hours in the morning, and then in the afternoon, 3.5 hours, you're expected to answer this clinical decision making questions which you're going to write. So the materials that I used, like I said, clinical decision making, so very similar to the USMLE CK exam. We've got the Canadian Q Bank. That was a very useful tool. I would recommend that first before using the USMLE board questions. Why? Because it's a Canadian exam and there's some things that are just peculiar to Canada. For example, our ethics is uniquely ours, so you want to know what do we do here? How are we supposed to approach a situation when a situation arises? What is expected of you? So I would recommend that. So I used that. Then I used the USMLE board, specifically this for CK. And I had a study group. If you have a group of people that are taking the exams around the same time as you, then that is also very helpful because you keep yourself, you hold yourselves accountable, right? And you can brainstorm questions together. And then I had a plan, I had the different specialties, I listed it out, because remember, they're all going to be weighted equally, so at least about 30 questions from each specialty. So, and internal medicine is so broad. It's so easy to spend all of your time doing just internal medicine and all the subspecialties, So I made sure to remember that, I didn't sacrifice one specialty for another. So I was always reminding myself that, remember, internal medicine is just one component of about 7 different components, right? That's the other specialties. So I made sure to allocate my time effectively. And lastly, there is an organization, the AIMGA, which is the Association for International Medical Graduates of Alberta, it says, but now is opened Canada-wide, and a lot of the programs are offered virtually, if not all, with the pandemic. So IMGA actually does help people prepare for exams. And when you think about spending thousands in preparatory fees for exams. I remember registering as a member with Inga. It was $50, and you had access to all these resources. Inga actually has study groups with moderators that moderate study groups online. Maybe weekly, maybe more than once a week. So I would encourage you to look them up, join them, register with a study group, and you can. And with the different online forums that we have now, it's so easy to get someone who is also studying for an exam just like you, right? Go online, if it doesn't have to be in person. So that I would encourage you. So I did that, and let's see what else I have on my cheat sheet here. I think that's about it for the QE1, so practice, 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 lots and lots of questions. And I think I remember that you had some structured questions on the MCC QE1 website too. So there were sample questions that you could pay for and do. So I remember paying with a group of people, and we practiced those questions, So, and that was found on the QE1 website itself. So you can also check for those structured assessment questions that were available. So that was it for the QE1. And for the NAC, like we know, is a structured OSCE exam, right? So the preparation is different. So for myself, I prepared for it over about 3 months, but that is because one of my strengths is communication, and my clinical skills are top notch, So if you can communicate effectively, if you've got your good patient-centered approach, and you have a good clinical knowledge base, you would sail in your OSCEs, And at the time, I did attend an OSCE class. And the only reason why I did that was because I was working. I didn't have that long time to dedicate to studying for the exams. And I just needed a rapid brigade fire approach, And there was a preparatory class. This was in person then. This was 2016. And and he did come. He visited Calgary, and over a period of 10 days, we had a marathon. A marathon of about 10 to 12 hours every day, where we brushed through all the different specialties, all the clinical scenarios, and we would practice the scenarios, and we dedicated one day to physical examination. And I did this course in June, I think. I did the course in June. My exam was in September, and I spent the whole of July, the whole of August just practicing. So what I did was, during that course, I identified 2 or 3 people that I felt I could study with, These people, I felt they were better than I was, and we didn't have anything in common other than the exam. I remember one of them was someone from who studied, a Canadian who studied in Poland, a fresh graduate, which I thought was a plus for me since I had been over a decade out of med school, right? So I had that guy on my team. I also had someone who was a pulmonologist from India. So his internal medicine was top notch. So I felt like, yo, if I was missing my respiratory exams, this guy would, hold me accountable. And I had myself, right? So I'm from Nigeria, so I didn't have a bunch of Nigerian girlfriends that, instead of maybe practicing, will start, it'll become a social visit or something. And together we were consistent. So that is the word, consistency. Every day after work, I was working as a clinical research coordinator at the time. We would meet up where we met from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day consistently. We went through cases. There was a book we used. What's the title again? So the NAC OSCE, a comprehensive review. So that textbook was a book that we used that had different scenarios. So that was very good. I also used the Edmonton manual. The Edmonton manual had different examinations and scenarios as well. I went through that. And for videos, I watched Geeky Medics, Geeky Medics. Geeky Medics had a lot of videos, and you could see different examinations that helped. And again, I will come back to inga. There were study groups available via inga. So the secret to success with NACOSCI is practice, practice, practice. You want to be timely, you want to be consistent, and you want to ace the exams. If you're still struggling with English as a language, you want your English skills to be, very conversational and fully improved. And I also took a mock exam before the main exam. And what the mock does is it gives you confidence, it builds your confidence. You're able to get feedback from whoever you did the mock with, and that helps, right? Or even if you don't have that, you can record yourself. You can look at your body language later. You can see how comfortable, how relaxed you are, right? And going into the exam room, something I told myself, like, I talk to patients all the time, is the same thing as talking to a patient. And remember that the patient can pick up your anxiety if you're anxious yourself. And that was what I told myself walking through my stations. And as soon as I came out of a station, even if it wasn't good, I had to push it behind me and go to the next patient. And I did. In that exam, I was in the 97th centile for that exam. So at that time, the marks still used to be out of 100, and I got 81. And I think that was the highest score in Calgary for that year. So again, consistency, consistency. So I hope, well, this will be a roundup to today's session. It's been a lovely time answering some of your questions, not all though, but some of them. And like I said in the beginning, a lot of people would benefit from these answers, which is why I decided to share it publicly. So keep your questions coming in. Send it to info@drshayee.com. I'm happy to answer them. And I look forward to seeing you on the second session of Q&A with Dr. Shayee. But in the interim, watch out for the next practice ready assessment series. That's what we'll be talking about. And no, I haven't forgotten. I made a promise to bring someone here to talk about the clinician assessment and surgical assistant program. And yeah, my guest will come on soon. So it's been a pleasure. Again, if you haven't liked, shared, or hit the subscribe button, kindly do so that other people can also, get to see this message. I see our community is growing. I'm happy to see that because I believe, You know, the more people who are armed with information, the more successes we'll continue to record. And once again, wishing everyone preparing for their CAMS interview during the season the very best of luck. And it is IMG Chronicles with Dr. Shayee. Thank you for watching and do have a good rest of the month. I look forward to seeing you again next month. Ta-da!
Kindly subscribe. Don't just watch it and walk away. Many need this information from all over the world who are interested in coming to Canada to work as doctors. So kindly share, like, subscribe, follow us on all of our social handles.